Hello! In this video, I'm recreating restoration hardware vases. When we do that, it's called a dupe. Silly question, how do you spell dupe? Is it D-U-P or do you add an E at the end, D-U-P-E? I always thought it was simply D-U-P, but that's pronounced dup. So then I started adding an E, but I really have no clue. I'm on it, and in this video, I'm recreating two restoration hardware vases. So I guess one will have an E and one won't, and that might clear things up. These are all the supplies I've pulled together. This portion right here is all for vase number 2, but I haven't really committed to a design yet, so I'm gonna just push them aside for now. And this is all I need for vase number 1. Here's a picture of the original restoration hardware vase that I'm using as inspiration. It does look like just a dish on top of a cylinder. That's pretty much what I have here, a dish and a plain glass vase. Well, it's not plain right now, I just have to take off this burlap, but it fits so nice. It actually kind of locks in place because the size of this, I don't know, this rim, this edge here, just fits perfectly here. I picked this up for $1.29, and this vase you could buy at Dollarama for $2, but I thrifted it for 99 cents. Look at that bargain. So oh, don't worry, this glass dish, this dish here is not anything, it's not like an antique or a collectible. It's just something from the thrift store someone threw it. It wasn't like from a set. I'm not ruining someone's set or anything like that. I just need to clean it really well and turn it into something totally different. And now for my dupe plan for vase number 1. I have 3 spray paints: white gloss, white semi-gloss, and stone effect. And I want to paint, I actually want the whole thing to be white. I know this looks cream, but everything's gonna be white. I want the inside of the dish to be gloss. So I'm going to do that first. Even before I attach it, I'm gonna give this a really good coating. I might even have to sand down this flower if it looks too raised. Just some 220 grit, like a scuff sanding, nothing too fancy. And then spray paint it so it's super glossy and shiny. And I will glue everything together, flip it over once it's dry, and do the rest of the painting. Only been about an hour, and I know that the paint hasn't dried yet, but I do want to glue the two together. This way the paint and the glue can dry at the same time. I'm going to be using my trusty E6000 because this stuff really works. The E6000 is dry, so that means I'm ready to paint. I'm going to paint this in 3 steps in hopes of getting some dimension and texture. First step, with the piece upside down, I'm going to give the exterior a really solid coat, this semi-gloss, which sometimes I call satin, white paint. This is like a base layer. Now time for the stone texture. I don't want to go too heavy, and I'm going to try to avoid spraying the bottom. Try my best. Third step. This is just a light dusting of the white paint. I'm doing this because I want a white vase, but I would like a tiny bit of the cream stone texture to peek through in hopes that this looks more like a stone vase instead of what it really is, a glass dollar store vase that I picked up at a thrift shop. In some spots, there are noticeable gaps where the dish and the vase meet. I should have caught this before I started painting, but I do have white caulking and the vase is white. I tape up the lower portion for a clean edge. I didn't bother with the upper because it's more on the underside, and to tape around the base of that dish would have been really tricky. The caulking job did the trick, and now this looks more like one piece. I should have just done this at the beginning. Vase number 2. It's so cool. I love the design. Just not like more than $200 worth of my love, not that kind of love. It's inspired by bamboo, and the sides are undulating, and then the ribs that cause that undulation, you can see like, on those ribs you can see like the darker paint underneath. My original idea was this vase. It was $3.99, much better than $200. And I also found this lid that fits on perfectly. Like I really like how that fits. And the lid was $2.99. For $7, not too shabby. And then Ralph, because he knows how I like to use cables in my projects for some reason, he did manage to find me a thin little cable that I could wrap around to fake the undulating pattern, which I thought was pretty cool. If the cable didn't work, I was going to use hot glue. But then I was like, this vase is pretty big. I don't know, I decided to go with this vase, which is much smaller, and the lid doesn't fit on as perfectly, but I thought, oh, the color's already dark, well, not too bad. But I don't know, I just didn't like how that looked. So this morning, I was going through my vases and I found this beauty. I know it's not exactly the same, like the little ribbing here is much closer, but the shape just has that right vibe. It really has the same feel. And the best part, this lid fits on like it's made for it. So this, I think, is going to be my design. I truly really love how this looks. So it's not a pure, true dupe, but it's an inspiration, which I'm gonna love. Now, about 20 times today, I've changed my mind between the color. I want a gray, and then I want a white, and then I want a gray, and then white. Walking downstairs, I was like, for sure going gray. Came back upstairs now, sat down, and I'm like, no, I'm going white. So that I haven't decided yet, but I do know that I need to spray paint the base of this dark, so when I kind of like do some wet sanding, you'll be able to see the dark lines underneath. So spray paint first. Oh, and I need to spray paint the lid too. It's from, it's made in England. Crownford, made in England. So maybe this one's really special, but I'm still gonna redo it. And it says something about Bonnie, Scotland. So I do love the Scots and their accents and their plaid. Yeah, Scotland's pretty cool. Okay, sticker off. And I'm ready to spray paint. I finally decided what color I'm painting the vase. White. Yeah, I know, so boring, but it's gonna work really well where I wanna keep this vase. But before I get to any painting, I need to attach my little knob. In the original, there's actually a hole and it goes all the way through, so it's like you can put like skinny stems through, but I'm not drilling through a plate, so I'm just gonna make like a little nub so I can lift and open this whenever I want to. Not that I think I ever will, but just in case I want to stash things in here, then that's what I'm going to do. But trusty 6000, and I'm going to glue it together, let it dry, and then I'm just going to paint it with just some craft paint, because I'm just going to paint over it in white. The chalk paint has crackled as it dried. Completely my fault. I had put on in some areas, just the paint was just on a little too thick. So as it was drying, I noticed that it crackled. So instead of waiting, I decided to touch it up. And then I kind of got carried away, and I had this inspiration I was gonna mix some gray paint into the white to see how it looks. So I loved how that looked, it was a great idea. But then I got carried away and I just gave the entire vase a second coat. But the first coat wasn't fully dry. So that is why the entire vase has crackled. And now I get to sand it all off. So lesson of the day, be patient. Now with the extra work out of the way, I can start painting again. I could have avoided this completely if I just waited and then just sanded off, like waited for the original coat to dry and then sanded off the crackled parts. There weren't that many, maybe like a handful. If I would have just sanded that, I wouldn't have had to sand the whole entire vase. So there's a little tip there. Just let it dry and sand the little bits off, which I might have to do again if I go too heavy anywhere, but it's much easier than sanding the entire vase. But let's paint. I am mixing some white with the gray. I just like the look. Now I don't stir it completely. I just put globs on this little work mat here, and then I just paint it on. So however it comes, however the colors come on mixing together, that's how I'm leaving it. I'm miming again. I probably forgot to turn on my mic. Okay, instead I'll do some improv lip reading for you here. Earlier I said that I was going to wet sand the edges, but the more correct term is wet distress. With a damp rag, rub away the chalk paint to reveal the black spray paint base coat. If your rag gets dirty, rinse and keep going. You can also use a sponge, starting with the softer side, and then if you need to, you can flip over and use a scrubber side. That's it. Easy, just a little tedious. Okay, so what'd you think of my lip reading skills? I've tried distressing the edges, I really tried, but I only like the result here on the tops, here where the edges are more sharp. That's where it looks good. When I tried doing any of the distressing down here where the edges are rounded, it just didn't look right. I just didn't like the look at all. So then I tried, okay, first I tried wet distressing, then I grabbed like a sharp point, tried scraping the chalk paint off, then I used a pen, and then a Sharpie, and then I just took black yarn and see maybe if I put that around it look, no, everything looked it just didn't look right. So this might not really be a true restoration dupe. It's more like inspired by restoration hardware. So it's dupe-ish. I guess that's a new word and it applies to this. Well, as I don't like the texture of chalk paint, I have one last step to do, and that's waxing. And I'm just gonna use my good old stinky, plain clear wax. Just natural wax. Earlier I forgot to mention that after my distressing failure, I repainted and resanded the vase. Again. This vase was definitely a dupe. Glue a shallow dish on a simple cylindrical vase and spray paint to save yourself a couple $100. Sweet! Now this other vase, I can't call this a dupe, but I can definitely say it was inspired by the original. I didn't want to push the design into something it just couldn't be. I didn't want to ruin it. I really like this organic, natural, handmade look that it has, and I didn't want to ruin that. I really like how this looks. It's something that might not be a dupe, but it's a perfect design for me. And I got to make up a new word, dupe-ish. That's spelled D-U-P-I-S-H. No E required. See, nice and simple. For more made-up words and other home decor inspiration, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you soon with another project. Bye! Where are my glasses? I think they're downstairs. Trying to find my glasses without glasses on. Oh, good idea. So I guess I'm doing this glasses list. Hello? Yeah, that looks good. Ooh, Velcro stuck to my dress from the, oh my gosh, it's stuck. Maybe I should just take this off. I hate all of that. Just bad. Nope, let's do that again.